it. That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your no-fluff guide to artificial intelligence in higher ed. I'm Mallory Willsea, bringing nearly 20 years of edtech and marketing expertise straight to your earbuds. Higher ed leaders are expected to master AI overnight, but let's be real, no one has time to sift through every headline, hot take, or research report. That's why every Monday, I'll break down what actually matters. Fast, clear, and to the point. Want to sound like the smartest person in the room at your next team meeting? You're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hi, I'm Ty Fujimura, Chief Product Officer here at Element 451, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Kemi Jona, Vice Provost at UVA. And we're going to talk about AI and workforce development and some really innovative things happening in the space. So, Kemi, would you like to just start with an introduction to who you are and what you do at UVA?
Sure. It's great to be here, Ty. Thanks for having me on. Kemi Jona, I'm the Vice Provost for Online Education and Digital Innovation at University of Virginia. In that role, which I've been in now for just about 2 years, our mission is to support the university's strategic plan, which calls for, among other things, making a UVA education accessible to those who can't come to Charlottesville. Charlottesville is a beautiful town. I highly recommend it, but it's not easy to get to. And as a public flagship university, supported by the taxpayers, it is our obligation to serve the citizens of the Commonwealth, and we need to find new ways to do that don't involve necessarily forcing people to uproot their lives and move to beautiful Charlottesville, Virginia, in order to avail themselves of a world-class UVA education.
And so tell me about some of the tactics that you've used over the years to use that, of course, or to do that. Starting with non-AI means, and then now in this modern era, integrating AI.
Yeah, I mean, throughout my career, I've really been focused on learning technologies. And by that, I mean sort of how do we harness technology, whatever we have available. And we've been through, obviously, many, many waves of technology. I started this, I'm chagrined to say, before the internet era. And, we've seen a lot of technologies come and go. But certainly, the North Star for me all along across my career, Ty, has been, how do we use technology to make high quality education accessible to those who might not otherwise have it, whether that's because of time and place access, because of money access, just flexibility to fit it into a busy schedule, and or maybe just because, the resources weren't nearby that you couldn't get access to. So, that's been my kind of North Star all along, and that's spanned my work as a research faculty at Northwestern University, a similar role at Northeastern University in Boston, and then now here at UVA.
Nice. Have you found any use cases that have been especially successful for you with integrating AI to solve some of those challenges? Or are there any use cases where it's next on your list to kind of start to attack that problem?
Yeah, I mean, it's the $64,000 question. I mean, everybody at the conference we're at here at ASU, the Agentic AI conference, is really asking the same question. Like, AI is super cool, it's super powerful. How do we use it wisely within education? And I think the wisely part is key because as we know, there's a ton of hype out there. And it is really confusing, I think, for educators, for parents, for students to sort of sort out, like, what's the hype that we should pay attention to, and are there actually parts where using AI might be harmful, right? And that is a tricky question. So some of the areas where I think we've seen some early success that I'm excited about, one, my colleague Sarah Cochran, who is my Senior Director of Learning Design, who's here with me today at the conference, has done some really innovative work around using AI video avatars. Right, so most people who have seen social media recently have seen a lot of AI-generated videos, and most of them are used for sort of commercial purposes. But we found that we can take faculty, and instead of, dragging them into a video studio for like a half-day shoot or a full-day shoot, that we can actually create, video avatars that, are essentially, their voice, their words, but we don't have to do a video shoot. And that turns out to save us like 50% of the cost of developing an online course. And the faculty, for the most part, not everybody, but a lot of faculty really appreciate the flexibility because you don't have to take time out of your week to like sit in a green screen studio and say the same lines over and over and over again. And they're busy, right? And so it's a huge cost savings. I think the quality is better because you can work on the script and get the words exactly right. And then your script becomes a video. Yeah. And guess what? If you need to change the video later, except that you're, in Europe at a conference, hey, no problem. You can just email us the changes. And in 30 minutes, we can regenerate that video and you are on the other side of the world, right? It's amazing if both efficiency gain, quality gain, and frankly, from the faculty perspective, that makes participating in this whole thing a lot less of a hassle.
Right. Yeah, and that's a great example of where AI can be an additive piece because there's no reason the same faculty can't record the videos the way that they used to. It's totally up to them. So these things they're tools, they're out there. Kind of our job as like technology providers is to make it really easy to choose that path and make it frictionless. But it's not an all or nothing type of thing. And so we just have to kind of find all those use cases where somebody can quickly and easily start leveraging AI, and then if they like the results, they keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think what you're talking about is looking for complementary uses rather than sort of substitution uses. Other people use the term augmentation, right? And I think that's generally right. I think, what we're going to see, if I had to predict, a lot of the initial press coverage is all about students using chatbots in classes. And I think there are some, powerful applications there, but really the early wins are going to be in the back office stuff, like we just talked about, like video production costs, AI dubbing. Like you can take a video right now and have it redub it in a foreign language with perfect lip sync. So you look like a native speaker. Well, if you're trying to reach a global audience, or even, students here in the US that are not native English speakers, we know from research that you're going to have much better understanding retention if you can hear it in your native language. Again, no surprise. And that used to be a hugely expensive undertaking, right? Tens of thousands of dollars per course. And now it's basically free, right? It's like $3 or whatever the cost is. And, that alone can just dramatically increase, the accessibility of our materials, level the playing field for students who are struggling, international students. I spoke to some student who is joining us from Brazil, and she's like, yeah, look, I mean, I can speak English pretty well, but like if I can listen to it in my native language, I understand it better. That's right. So, those are all like upside wins, I think.
Right. And tell me about your kind of personal journey with AI. From the looks of it, you're an AI enthusiast. You're kind of known for speaking to your colleagues and helping to educate and inform people about AI. So how did that come about? How did you become passionate about this? And what was your story like with the journey?
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't call myself an AI enthusiast. I would call myself maybe an AI guardedly optimistic person with an emphasis on the guardedly. Because I think with any new technology, there are, like we've been talking about, there are definitely upsides and there are risks. And in education, unlike in, advertising for a product on Amazon, there are real consequences for not getting it right. I mean, these are students who, are either, K-12 students and, we have a responsibility to be vigilant about that, or they're adult learners who are, paying real money to take classes, and we owe them, high quality experiences. So, we have to be thoughtful, unlike in a consumer, domain, about adoption of AI, and that holds true for me, like all the way through my career, right? And my work started looking at, how do we leverage the internet to make it more accessible? How do we use computer simulations to make learning more engaging and fun for kids? And from there, on to, what can we create more engaging master's degree programs? When I was at Carnegie Mellon West, we did some role-playing simulations in master's degrees for software engineering and e-commerce, where if you wanted to learn how to do software engineering, you played the role of a software engineer in a fake company, right? And you learned kind of like a flight simulator for pilots, right? And made it really relevant, immediately instead of waiting till the end to finish it up. So throughout that journey, it's really been about how do we take the best of what technology has to offer without undermining the learning process. And that, I would say, bringing it back to your question, Ty, is where my guardedly optimistic part comes in with AI, because there are some real dangers in what we call cognitive offloading, which is something a lot of parents and educators are reading about now, and I think are rightly worried about. And the best way to explain it, I think, or that I used to think about it and talk about it, is that we need to think about, and we need to help our students or kids, if you're a parent, think about learning as something that is more akin to like working out and exercising.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that if you think about, for example, buying a really expensive gym membership and then sending your roommate to work out for you, you're going to get no value from that proposition, right? Yeah. Because you can't, it doesn't work like that, right? You can't let somebody else work out for you and then get the benefits. And similarly, even if you do go to the gym or you go running or whatever your exercise is, and you don't push yourself, you're not going to get stronger, right? Like you can't just phone it in at the gym and hope to get good results. And learning is exactly the same way, right? Except that we've sort of lost our way on that understanding. And so, thinking about learning as productive struggle or productive friction, and then being alert for, well, if I'm using generative AI, am I offloading the work and the struggle? In which case I'm short-circuiting my own learning or my students' learning, versus am I doing it in a smart way that is enhancing the learning, taking some of the parts that are maybe secondary to the project or whatever I'm working on, making more interesting and exciting. But that has to be the North Star. And until we have like a new social compact or a new social understanding between students and educators that learning is hard, you can't get around it. There's no shortcut or silver bullet. Like, it is meant to be hard, but the hard parts pay off in the learning, just like the hard parts of going to the gym pay off when you compete in a marathon or whatever sport you're playing, or you're trying to shave seconds off your time. You got to put the work in, and that gets us past, I think, this arms race around cheating, using AI to cheat, trying to get AI detectors. That is a no-win battle and a rabbit hole that I think it will never win if we go down that route. So we have to kind of level the understanding with a new understanding of what learning is.
Right, that makes complete sense. And my understanding is you focus a lot on workforce development and cultivating strong relationships between UVA and the corporate world. So can you tell me about that dynamic right now? Like, what is it? What has changed recently? I feel like more employers are kind of cognizant of the relationships they can build with higher ed and leaning into those. So tell me about the programming you're doing and what you've learned from that, and how you've applied AI to those problems as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Ty, because it is, I think, in every headline that we're reading these days about, college grads, unemployment, is college, a degree is still a ticket to a good job. So we're constantly bombarded in the media with these articles. And I think parents of high school students or college students have every right to be wondering, like, what is the deal now and how do we navigate? And certainly higher ed is also sort of trying to figure out, like, how do we adjust to this new AI era, without overshooting it too much. And those are difficult, challenging conversations. I would say, for me, the challenge for years now has been that there's sort of a finger-pointing mentality between employers and higher ed, right? Employers are always complaining, like, new graduates, they don't have the right skills, we can't hire them, they don't know how to work in a workplace, blah, blah, blah. And, probably there's some truth in that, but, the issue that I have is that we still have this throw-it-over-the-wall mentality. This is like, take a college grad, throw them over the wall, and everything will be fine. But that implies that the employers are not meeting us in the middle and co-designing this solution, right? We're just pointing fingers like, it's your fault, no, it's your fault. And so really to get past that, I think the key is this idea of like, let's sit at the table, let's meet in the middle, and let's figure it out together. And one of the things about AI that I think is a silver lining is that both employers and higher ed have to figure out exactly the same problem right now, which is how is AI changing the world of work? And how do we then respond in terms of helping prepare people to succeed and thrive in that new world, even though none of us know for sure what that world is going to look like yet. So we're all sort of feeling our way forward. And that's a perfect moment to get together and say, okay, HR and employers, like, you're trying to figure out what AI is going to do to your jobs, and higher ed is trying to figure out how do we adjust, what we're teaching and how we're teaching to make sure that, our graduates are fully prepared to succeed. So we have a shared mission, and it's a perfect time to sit around the table and figure that out. A couple of examples that come to mind from my work at Northeastern before I was at UVA is, for example, we partnered with PwC, who wanted to better prepare their new hires to pass the CPA exam, which means you need 30 credits, or used to mean you need 30 credits beyond your bachelor degree. And so we co-designed a new digital accounting master's degree with them that updated the sort of 30-year-old accounting degree to modern era practices where you have a lot of back office folks that are doing some low-level work and you as a CPA have to review it. And so that was a great, we would not have known that had we not partnered with them. So it brought our degree up to current, perfectly aligned with what a Big Four accounting firm needs from their workers and helped us align to that. That was great. And then PwC would pay the tuition for their employees to go through it, which was great for the university because we want more enrollment and we want our graduates to succeed. We did another partnership with GE Aviation at the bachelor's level where we co-designed a bachelor's in advanced manufacturing systems where the folks who were literally building the jet engines that are on the airplanes that you're flying on could punch out of their shift, walk across the hall, and be in our class and finish their bachelor's degree in advanced manufacturing. So it was a great partnership, and we, again, literally met in the middle. We will come physically come and bring the classes to the factory, and, we did it around the shift boundaries. Because if you're working at a factory, you can't leave in the middle of your shift to do a class. You have to do it either before or after your shift. And so we flexed our schedules to meet their needs.
Right. So I'll close on this. On the internal side, when you think about your organization adapting to the same challenges that the corporate world is of trying to use AI to gain efficiency or avoid mistakes or automate process, have you seen any traction there within your groups, and what are your kind of hopes for the future of what the institutional model can look like with AI embedded in it?
I mean, there's so many different places where I think AI can make a difference, right? And we're still early days in kind of sorting that out and experimenting. So I think the one thing to say that I think should be helpful to your listeners is we have to embrace that we're in an era of experimentation. Nobody knows the answer. We're all trying to figure it out together. And so we have to take an innovation mindset and try a bunch of experiments and pilots and try to figure this out. So some of the things that we've found early success in is my colleague Sarah Cochran, who leads our learning design team, has been using the AI video generators to create video avatars of faculty that cut the cost of production for our courses by 50%. And it turns out actually the faculty like it better because they don't have to be locked in a studio for all-day shoots, right? So that might seem like a very unsexy, back office sort of win, but the faculty like it better. We can cut the cost of production. So then the question is, well, what do you do with that cost savings? Well, you can make twice as many videos as you could before, or you could build a really cool, simulation to make student engagement better. So you could plow those savings into a much richer, much better course experience for the students, right? So it does matter, right? It's not just money, but you can actually reinvest in really key areas, right? So that's where I think we're seeing right now on the ground unlocks for AI.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful point to end on, that a dollar saved is not just necessarily a dollar in the bank. That's a dollar that you can put back into the student's experience. So any kind of process that you're automating or simplifying, where you're reducing costs for the institution, that can pay off in the outcomes that your students are getting. So thank you so much. Again, this is Ty Fujimura from Element 451 on the Enrollify network, here with Kemi Jona. Thank you for your time, sir.
It's great being here, Ty. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Pulse. The show is a proud member of the Enrollify network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow. So be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit Enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.